And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast. Plus, also as well, of course, Magic Man Sean Grice is here as well. Make sure you go ahead and check out whenever he is hosting the show right here on this channel or on Playback, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. He does an outstanding job of going ahead and letting you know what's going on with the Lakers scene right there for you on Playback, along with Laker Nick, Joe, myself, and who knows, he'll stop by every game on Playback. Plus, also as well, of course, speaking of Joe, a lot of speaking of Joe, and he's done a lot of speaking in the comments earlier today as well. He was so nice and gave me a nice compliment earlier today. So, yes, if you want to go ahead and check it out on yesterday's video, you can see it right there. I haven't deleted yet. So, it is, of course, Joe Soro, Oxide247 at LakersBall.com. Go ahead and check him out there, and then also his company. If you can support it, it's greatly appreciated to him. Simblades with the Y.com. Also, as well, the Lakerholics. Actually, it'll be one Lakerholic tomorrow. We're going to let Trader Tom, since it's officially trade talk season, because the 15th has gone by, some players are now eligible, not all. Actually, the best place to go is ESPN Trade Machine, because it actually will not allow you to trade individuals that are not yet ready or available to be traded. So that's absolutely the best tool that you can use. But Laker Tom has been using the NBA trade machine. So go ahead and check out his thoughts at Lakerholics.com, along with Jamie Sweet and his 5 Things articles. But we'll have Laker Tom on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We'll go ahead and let him go crazy, because it's a Laker spotlight on Trader Tom himself. We'll go ahead and talk all about the trades, all about the list of who might be available, who might not. Are these stupid trades that we're talking about? Are these crazy trades that we're talking about? Are these realistic? Are these unrealistic? We'll just go ahead and cover it all. And that'll be on tomorrow's Lakerholic Spotlight at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, as well, go ahead and support our good friends, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Also, as well, of course, the John McCalian channel, Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, the Larry Lakers Dribbling Chit Chat, the Lakers Corner, all those great sites. Please support. But speaking of supporting, we always need your help here. So please go ahead. If you're on YouTube, subscribe today. Click on the little Joe so you get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Like always as well, share it with a friend. Let them know that there's some great Lakers supporters here. And also as well, if you're on Facebook or Twitch or Twitter, like and follow us as well. Well, the Lakers heading home after what could have been a very good week for the Lakers, what should have been a very good week for the Lakers, coming off the high of the NBA Cup championship 1 week from today, or 1 week ago, I should say. Unfortunately, did not materialize, as they had 2 very stinging losses, one in Dallas, which they probably should have won, and one in San Antonio, which they really should have won, but unfortunately got walloped by a team that had lost 18 straight games. And with only a 2-point miraculous victory on Wednesday to go ahead and hold themselves somewhat high upon, they head back home for a Monday night tilt against the New York Knicks. But the question remains, is some of the problem lying at the hands or the feet or the pockets of one coach, Darvin Ham? That is the question today. We will discuss, has coaching cost us games so far this season? I mean, it's gone back and forth. Some people are still defending Ham, and you're obviously well within your right to do so. But also, as well, there's people that are very adamant about it, like our own Joe Soro as well. He was very adamant. If you got to check out last night's Spurs post game, where I guess someone was very upset that you guys didn't mention Rui Hashimura enough, because someone had a fixation on Rui Hashimura, because he did play well, and I will give him credit for that, but obviously not well enough, since they lost by over 10 points to a team that lost 18 straight games. But Rui Hashimura is just part of the perplexing things that have been done by the coaching staff, i.e., Darvin Ham. So, here today to discuss whether or not Darvin Ham's coaching has cost us some games this season is a good man indeed. It is the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to stop on by and chat about Darvin Ham. And I'm sure he's waiting for tomorrow to go on the Laker Tom trading spree tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here. Oh, Darren, was that you? Okay. Sorry. That was Darren that said, I guess, that we did not have the guys, you and Joe did not fixate enough on Rui Hashimura, but yeah, I think he apologized and backtracked on that. But Joe somehow always interjected and still ended up calling me a prick. But anyways, need I
He
digress?
did? I don't remember that.
It's on the comments. It's
Oh,
there.
of course. Yeah, it wasn't on air. He wouldn't dare do.
Darren, I didn't know who the moniker that Darren used. So I said to Darren in the comments because he was very adamant that you guys didn't talk about Rui Hashimura. And you guys eventually did talk about a little bit about Rui Hashimura. But I said in the statement back to Darren, I said, leave it to Joe to always make sure he says something to say. And then, of course, Joe said something in the comments and called me a prick from there, which, again, as we've seen today, especially in the emails, par for the course. But that's why we love Joe, because that's just who he is.
Hmm.
Magic Man, it is Mr. Pockets himself, Darvin Ham. Your thoughts? I already heard Joe's, and if he comes back on tonight, he's going to not change any bit of difference. Before I get into my line of questioning and my line of thoughts on Coach Darvin Ham's coaching abilities, I want to hear your thoughts in detail, my friend. The floor is now yours. Has Coach Darvin Ham cost us games so far this season?
Yes, he has, Gerald. Yes, he has.
How so, if I may ask?
Okay. So let's start pragmatically. Gerald, do timeouts roll over from game to game?
No, you can't take them home with you.
No. So he's done that, I would say, at least a dozen times this year. And in every loss except the two shellackings, I felt that he's left timeouts in his back pocket and didn't just took them home with him, and that cost us a sequence of events that could have led to a different result. Two, challenging, Gerald. Um, he will challenge upon the insistence of one LeBron James and no one else. If LeBron tells him to challenge something, he will challenge it. Other than that, he will rarely, if at all, challenge a controversial play. Again, that's coming back to bite us in the behind.
Mhm.
Three, again, understanding time and place and how to attack. So if Kevin Durant and Devin Booker each have 4 fouls, maybe go at them, start attacking them as teams do us when Christian Wood is in the game or LeBron has 4 fouls, etc. It just doesn't seem that the awareness is there from the coaching staff to the floor, and that's what's supposed to happen. Obviously, the players are playing within the game. They're not seeing the game within the game, and the game within the game, Gerald, as we talk about the fourth problem I see with Ham is that he is a step or two slow with the game within the game with other coaches. And I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
So it's almost as if you're on the chessboard, Gerald, and yourself or Joe thinks 3 or 4 steps ahead, as most people would. It just seems as a head coach, Ham's only able to see what's in front of him and judge from that. He can't look forward into the future and try and project or anticipate what's going to happen. And that's just what I see, what you see. I and a lot of people see that as well. I mean, the him going to that zone yesterday was kind of a typifying example of what I'm talking about. Is you had the exact same starting five you had in that third quarter, and instead of changing up the five, just bringing in some new blood or some fresh eyes, you go to a zone. You just adhere to the lowest common denominator, Gerald. That's I think what bothers me, and I think it's what bothers Stone and yourself about him, is that when it comes to critical thinking and problem solving, it's almost the lowest common denominator. It's the ebb is very low and there's a low energy with it. It doesn't feel that you're getting delta waves. It's alpha and beta going back and forth. It doesn't feel streamlined as a coach, and um, that frenetic energy, it comes out, like, even though he's got his hands in his pockets and he looks very stoic, the team at times looks very jittery themselves, and I think that's a reflection of the head coach.
Once again, it is Magic Man Sean Grice and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. It is our questioning of whether or not Coach Ham, Darvin Ham, has actually cost us games. Do want to go ahead and make mention that we will be on tomorrow, 10 a.m., for Lakerholic Spotlight. The Lakerholic Spotlight will be on Laker Tom. We will let him go as crazy as he wants with the trades. And because, well, actually, I'll just go ahead and explain it tomorrow because, yeah, a lot of people have been giving him feedback, and a lot of people have been saying, oh, well, you guys talk about, these trade chips, but you guys don't get a chance to talk about who they would trade for. So we'll go ahead. And now the fact that now that the trade rumors have started, the trade pieces can, in some cases, can officially be moved. We'll go ahead and discuss that tomorrow on Lakerholic Spotlight. But
So
for
Gerald, I thought we'd do a little thought exercise because we like doing that on
okay, I'm doing it now.
LFB. All
Okay.
right. So I'm
That might
about
hurt
to
my brain.
So if we pull this up, Gerald, this is from
Okay.
the National Basketball Association, their head coach's website. So we're going
Mhm.
to go division by division here, Gerald. Who do
Okay.
you say is the best coach in the Atlantic Division?
Ooh, that's a good question. Right now, I would probably have to say Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse, okay,
Hmm.
former champion Gerald. Nick Nurse could
Okay.
slide him in there. I I would say it's between Missoula and Nurse, so it's those two, and then after that,
We'll see about Missoula. The book is still out on Missoula.
yeah, exactly. Central Division, Gerald. Who is the best coach in the Central Division?
In the Central Division, I will go. That's a hard one because I would have to probably say Rick Carlisle would be my choice.
Right.
Monty Williams has unfortunately fallen on hard times. So, yeah, definitely Rick Carlisle gets the nod because he's able to. The team itself is not exactly equipped to go ahead and be anything more than a 500 team, and he's been able to do some good things with the high octane offense he's put in there.
Absolutely. And as we go to the Southeast,
I am gonna say, I know everybody says Eric Spolestra. I'm gonna have to say Eric, but then again, Jamal Mosley is a fast riser, my friend. People are keeping an eye on Jamal Mosley.
absolutely, Gerald. So if we were going to say compare
But I
Jamal
will
Mo
say Eric is probably the leader in the clubhouse right now, just
right,
because
but
he has
if
the run.
let's say if you were compare and contrast styles here, who would you say is the better head coach, Gerald? Jamal Mosley or Darvin Ham?
Oh, Jamal Mosley. I'm not
Okay.
even hesitating.
Yes. Now, would you say that what would you say Orlando Magic's identity are right now, Gerald?
Well, right now, predicated on defense, they have a lot of length. They're not the best shooting team, but they've gotten better shooting this year than they have in recent years. A little bit better playmaking than recent years. Plus, their key guys. and Wagner and Banquero now have some basketball NBA court experience underneath their belts, and it's starting to show. It's starting to
Seems like a
show.
yeah, seems like a young team with scar tissue that's starting to rise. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. As we move on, Gerald, the Northwest Division. I mean, is there if you were to say who do you think is a better head coach, Will Hardy or Darvin Ham?
Well, Will Hardy, I think,
Okay.
even though it's not as the distance is not as far as it once was because Will Hardy, everybody was he was yesterday's cup, everybody's cup of tea,
Right.
because a lot of people were just very high on him. But obviously, we probably were a little bit down on Chris Finch, but in that top reign,
Yeah.
you got to give it to Michael Malone. Michael Malone is world champion. You have to go ahead and give there. And then Mark Daigneault, what he's
Mhm.
done with the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. I mean, right there, you have with Chris Finch, Daigneault, you have two guys that are now coaching at a high level, and they're able to get their team to go ahead and do what they need to do. Finch has created a defense that is number one in the league right now, and that's credit to him. And with Daigneault, he's been able to go ahead and work with that young talent and get them farther along than I think a lot of people are expecting. They figured they'd be a team for 2024, 2025. Their time is now, according to what their record says at this point.
Absolutely, and I would say 4 out of those 5 coaches are I would rank higher than Coach Ham. And finally, Gerald, the Pacific Division. Where would you rank Ham amongst his own division, Gerald?
In his own division, fifth.
Fifth.
Yes.
So, who would you put first?
Oh, I have to put Kerr first.
Kerr first.
I understand Joe as
Mhm.
a seething hatred for Steve Kerr, but the rings are the key, my friend.
Well,
Rings are
and
the key.
not only that, Gerald, 4 out of those 5 have been to an NBA final. Kerr's
Yeah. Yep.
been to multiple. Lou took the Cavs to one. Brown also took the Cavs to one, and Vogel, obviously. So,
Alan said, Sean, this would be faster if you went to the worst five and then ask.
well,
That would be too easy, Alan. That would
we
be too easy.
this is a podcast, sir. We do have to go make
We don't have
pressing
time
time.
limits,
Yeah,
so
no,
we could
yeah,
be here for a little while.
exactly. But as we've seen, Gerald, I would rank at least Coach Ham in the bottom third of coaches. I think that's not harsh. I think that's fair. Um, and a lot of people would make the argument now that Steven Silas is no longer coaching the Rockets that mantle may be Ham's at this point, just given the landscape of the NBA. I mean, Monty Williams isn't a horrible head coach, and neither is Greg Popovich. Wes Unseld, Gerald has said it before. A lot of people have said it. I don't think he's a very good head coach, but aside from that, Gerald, Darvin Ham is in kind of in a category with Wes Unseld and
But you
Steve
see,
Clifford and JB
but
Bickerstaff at
But
best.
he has his defenders, Magic Man, and I started to defend Ham too at the at the end of last season. The beginning of last season obviously went off terribly during the middle of the season. It really didn't see much in the way, especially his favoriting three guard lineups. Really didn't get a good impression of him. But as he, that late game where he made adjustments in Minnesota was really something I thought was going to be a corner turning for him, the way he could turn the corner on his coaching. And then, he did make some adjustments during the playoffs that worked, but ultimately had absolutely no answer in the Western Conference Finals. And people are going to throw that at you, Magic Man. The supporters are the first thing they're going to throw at you is that he helped guide this team to the Western Conference Championships. And I understand that. I get that, the Western Conference Final and all that. But again, when we see this year something reverting back to the norm, I understand that's injuries, but each NBA team has their own injuries. It's how you play the people that you have is the issue. And I know Rui Hashimura, as Darren had alluded to, as far as is concerned, he wanted him to, get praised and things of that nature from you guys because of his performance yesterday. It's really hard to give praise when you lose to a team that's lost 18 in a row, but he did have a good game. I'll give him credit for that. But the thing is, it starts. Let's start with him. The way Ham has utilized Rui, despite the injuries, and I get that. When he's been healthy, he has not utilized him very well at all. Yesterday's performance, yesterday's minutes were the most we've seen out of him all season, and you saw a reflection of that in as far as in the box score. I know that to a lot of fans out there, there's been a sense of frustration in the way he's utilized his personnel. And it starts off with Rui Hashimura. You could go on to the other guys, but let's start off with Rui Hashimura and how you feel he's utilized him.
Um, at best, I think this year has been topsy turvy, Gerald, as far as his use of Rui, and then a combination of either Rui getting hurt or his efficiency either dipping or it's
Because he
almost
started out the season really hot from three, and I think that did Lakers did not capitalize on that enough, in my opinion. They did not play him enough minutes when he was shooting over 40% from three to start the season.
yeah. I no, I agree. It's coming out of the gate, um, in the Yellowstone hot springs. Yeah, you think Coach Ham would have tried to take advantage of that and milk that cow, Gerald, and tip it over, but he didn't. And I'm with you. I think that was short sighted. And again, that they came out of what's interesting to date, Gerald, is that there's been really no explanation for the plan it when they knew Vando would be out for a significant amount of time,
Mhm,
because it doesn't seem that there was a plan. And you always Gerald, you know it as well as anybody else professionally. You need to think about options: good,
mhm,
bad, indifferent, right? And
mhm,
there's the nuclear option for an NBA head coach in the front office, and there's the best outcome, and then there's this, and it just didn't seem like it was planned out very well, Gerald. And
mhm.
a lot of players have been either roles diminished, changed on the fly, and that's either resulted in one, the player not being able to fulfill those wishes by the head coach, or two, the again, the preparation has not been instilled correctly to mitigate these issues.
And what no, well, with Vando back, still he is going to, as Alan noted, he only played 15 minutes against the Spurs. Unfortunately, his offensive liabilities are really a problem as far as his development for the rest of his career. And this is something where the Lakers have now signed him for a long-term contract, and now you have to figure out a guy who's so bad on the offensive end. You have to figure out what he can do for you on the defensive end and how best to play him and utilize him. So I can understand being that little bit perplexing on his case. So people that are arguing for or against playing Vando more, I understand that, but we have to see more effective offense from him. So I'll give Ham a pass on that. But it was mentioned in the chat that everybody was screaming for Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell to not be the starting backcourt for the Lakers anymore. And finally, after how many games, I don't know what game he did it, I don't remember, what number game that he actually made the change on. He finally did and had Austin Reeves coming off the bench. And Austin Reeves, to his credit, has played well, has not been exploited as much on the defensive end in this new role coming off the bench. Yesterday's game, notwithstanding, because he had to start in place of D'Lo because D'Lo had the migraine. So I want to give Ham credit for finally listening to a lot of people out there and making the adjustment necessary there. The problem is he's not making enough of these adjustments anywhere else. Your thoughts on that, my friend, on the move for Austin Reeves to the bench and how that was worked out in Ham's favor so far?
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And actually, it was that November 10th game against the Suns that he
Okay,
decided to make
good
the
memory.
change. Um, yeah, it's look, if almost everybody and their mother, because Gerald's mom is a huge Lakers fan, can see that Austin Reeves and D'Angelo can't play together. It's not that they shouldn't or that they won't. It's they can't. They can't. There's a big difference between cannot, will not, would not, and should not. Cannot means cannot. Not going to end well. And eventually it was done by Gerald, but he eventually made that call. I'm just wondering when the foot's gonna drop on, you know, Vando coming into the starting lineup and Prince coming out, because look, Prince is a streaky shooter at best, Gerald. We said it. Now he's
Hmm.
been hot, white hot, the
Except for
past
yesterday.
for the past 9 games, except for last night. Yes. So we're going to see if this continues. My guess is we got the 5 alarm fire Torian for 2 weeks. We might get the
You go back to the 3 for 20 like you did before then. I think that's when Gabe Vincent comes back into the lineup, whether it's this here, what, in 2 days with the Knicks, as a reported by Sham Sharania, whether it's when, as far as anyone else was able to go ahead and report on it, whenever he comes back. This is the type of thing you're going to see from Gabe Vincent, and how he will be utilized will be a key going forward, because Max Christie is another name that's been bandied about there, as far as why is he continually getting a large amount of minutes, because he has not produced outside of one game in Cleveland. He is absolutely not produced. And, I know Rodell is his biggest backer out there, and more power to Rodell for doing that. But the kid, I don't want to be as harsh as Joe and Stone saying he's not an NBA player. He might be an NBA player someday, as far as a consistent level NBA rotation player, but I've seen this scenario before. The Lakers will not have enough patience to go ahead and worry about that, because he is going to be a free agent in the summer. They're probably, at this point in time, the way he's playing, going to let him go. And if he's going to flourish, it's probably going to be somewhere else, my friend. But the thing is, with Coach Darvin Ham continuously has relied on him for a good chunk of minutes. Yesterday, and thousands and thousands of Lakers fans could see how bad Max Christie was playing, how inept he looked out there against a 3-win Spurs team. Yet he chose to not only keep him out there in the first half, he chose to utilize him back in the starting lineup in the second. That, I think, was a costly mistake. That got the Lakers off to bad starts in the first and third quarter. And I think that was a big key to the difference in the game, my friend.
I think so as well, Gerald. And if there's an image from that game that's still stuck with me, it's that look, all due respect to Devin Vassell, very good player, very good player, but not the type that I would be intimidated by, Gerald, off a ball fake. Max Christie is 6'5", long, lengthy. He got ball faked by Devin Vassell, Gerald. You shouldn't get ball faked by Devin Vassell. And by the time he realized he was faked out, Gerald, the ball had already left Devin's
Oh yeah,
hands.
he was gone. Yeah, I mean, he got abused by
That
Devin
was
Vassell.
that was really bad. Yes.
Devin
That's
Vassell had a career night. When Devin Vassell has a career night, you have to look at the player playing opposite or responsible primarily for a good chunk of those minutes, and it was Max Christie.
absolutely Gerald. And I think you're right. Like the kid, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak,
And
Gerald.
then Darvin Ham at some point in time notified him, whether it was before the game or whatnot, at some point in time, because of the injury situation, you're going to have to be a ball handler and a playmaker. And when we saw that in the first half, it was absolutely repugnant how that happened. And in fact, not only led to, padding of the stats for Victor Wembanyama with a couple blocks, it just led to an atrocious, as far as offensive rotations for the Lakers. And absolutely, whoever thought that Max Christie was able to go ahead and become a playmaker absolutely has to not see the game how most other people are seeing it. And that's something I have an issue with Coach Darvin Ham is the just blindness towards the obvious at times is just absolutely it's amazing. And I don't mean that in a good way, Magic Man.
No, Gerald. I'll pull it up here in a sec, but I do remember us shining a light on an article written by John Schumann of NBA.com, which illustrated exactly what Gerald just got through discussing. That as Max Christie's usage rate increased, his efficiency and the team's efficiency just
Yeah.
plummeted. And yesterday was a perfect example of that.
Whatever confidence he gained over the summer and how just absolutely brilliant he played over the summer, that is gone. That is gone. Maybe it's because of the level of competition, whatever. It just seems like he did not take whatever good he was playing from that and to be able to apply it on a consistent basis. And Rodell will throw out, hey, he had a great game against Cleveland. If I have to wait for a player till game 18, 17, 16, 20, 22, whatever, for a player to actually finally have a good game with the team, that tells you that's not going to be a reliable player for us going forward.
No, it's not. And um, it also means that moving forward, it feels like instead of killing two birds with one stone, you just had two birds of yourself killed by one of them.
Yeah.
Because again, as Gerald illustrated on draft night, and I was with him as we discussed it. Why did you only sign him to a 2-year deal?
Yeah.
Where you might have been forced yourself into this position where you're handcuffing yourself because you're either you're betting that he's going to surprisingly and rapidly ascend, or you're betting that no one else sees the same potential that you do and doesn't offer. I just think it was this is a case of the it's not a catch 22, Gerald. It's more of the Lakers cut their nose off to spite their face with the drafting max, and then the contract and the development. He's just not ready. I agree with you. He's spunky enough. I think a couple more years of seasoning, I think he could turn into something. That
Mm.
being said, we don't need something to turn into something right now. We need something.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, because I see some new folks in the chat, welcome. It is the Lakers Fast Break. If you like what you see, please go ahead and like and subscribe so you can get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. So, Magic Man, I ask you this, my friend. When it comes to Coach Ham, again, we've talked about the fact that he just puts his timeouts in the pockets and takes them home with him at times. The inability to call as far as the replays. He just there's some blatant replays that the coaching staff has missed. I don't want to say he's cost us a whole ton of games, but there are times where you can really see coaching decisions make the most in certain situations. I do believe that we would have a better record if we had a better coach. And that is my opinion on that. But what do you say, Magic Man, to that?
I agree, Gerald. I think look, it's space between a blink and a tear, but I got to be frank, Gerald. I think if you put another coach in the same position, I think you'd be at 18-8 minimum.
Okay.
Minimum.
I'd say maybe 2, 3 games, maybe
Yes.
four, as far as what coaching decisions have cost us so far this season, which could calculate out to 6, 7, maybe 8 games, even more, possibly by the end of the season. So again, that's 10% of your season possibly that could be cost by good or bad coaching. So that's just a guess, just throwing it out there. But it's something where we're seeing things that we can go ahead and do differently that might help the Lakers put them in a better position. So yeah, it's
Absolutely,
something.
Gerald, and you said it eloquently. You said, and I quote about Darvin Ham and Max Christie, he has to see the same things that everyone else sees. And I just left the blog in the chat, and we just put up the numbers there. Christie's usage rate was increased by almost 5%. That's a lot. That's
Mhm.
a lot, especially when you have a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That
Yeah,
means all those guys collectively are willing to sacrifice possessions so you can be a better version of yourself. Well, Gerald, they've given him opportunity and he's hasn't taken advantage of it. It is a minus 18%
yeah,
efficiency rate with Max Christie as your primary ball handler.
yeah.
That's not
Yep.
good.
No, that's not good at all. And again, if he's not getting the job done, don't play him. You know, I'm not going to be as harsh as Joe and Stone Hanson's by saying that he's not an NBA player, but I do think he is not an NBA rotation player at this point in time, especially against, if you play so poorly against a 3-win team like that, he is not. And you've got to see this as a coach. If you see it's not working, don't be afraid to pull the plug on it right away and put someone else in there that may play better. And one of the things I mentioned with Rodell that we went back and forth on was the game. I don't know if it was Cleveland or where Christian Wood, the much maligned
Mhm.
Christian Wood, was actually doing well. He was on a roll. He had just hit two threes, and Darvin Ham immediately took him out of the game with 6 minutes left in the first half. And I was going, why? You have the player that's not. It's a rhythm game. These shooters need rhythm to continually be out there getting the attempts. Well, what happens? He didn't come in until like late in the third quarter and was never effective throughout the rest of the game. These marginal or rotational players, they need a rhythm in order to go ahead. We talk about Rui Hashimura. Rui Hashimura, when he plays only 9 or 12 or 15 minutes in a game, there's no way he's going to find any rhythm. He found a rhythm last night. Unfortunately, they didn't find enough players to have a rhythm last night. But you see what happens when you give a player that is can be effective out there. You need to recognize that and play them accordingly.
100%, Gerald. I'll just give kind of everybody kind of an example of what we're talking about specifically, okay? So, Gerald, do you remember the Lakers playing the Philadelphia 76ers and being bothered by the way the defense was playing against Joel Embiid? Were you bothered by it?
I was bothered by it the way they structured that out, but I was more bothered by the fact that Max Christie was getting used and abused by Tyrese Maxey, and
Yeah,
the Lakers
yes.
just kept letting it happen, and there was no adjustments being made by Darvin Ham. That was my primary focus on. But yes, the way that Joel Embiid was ripping up on the Lakers were not exactly pleasant either.
So other coaches have noticed exactly what Gerald talked about, Maxi, and his ability to rip you a new one because of the defense you play off Embiid. So, a couple of quick examples here, Gerald. The Nets, the Nets and the Cavs both played the Sixers before the Lakers did. Okay? I watched both games. Both teams were able to double or try to double Embiid from the baseline. They forced the ball out of his hands and forced somebody else other than Maxi most of the time, because at times on a scramble play, people just get open shots. But for the most part, they took the ball out of both of those guys' hands in the half court, Gerald, and they lived with the results. Now, Embiid got a lot of assists, I believe, against I think it was against the Cavs, but they forced a lot of turnovers from him as well, which meant that they were able to get back in transition and take advantage of that. As you said, no adjustment from Ham whatsoever against the Sixers. He didn't even I don't even think he thought about doubling Embiid from the baseline, Gerald, because that would have been the right scheme, especially for our defense to move forward, especially with get trying to get easier points and scoring opportunities in transition. But it's just another one of those, I'm watching and I'm like, if JB Bickerstaff recognized this and Jacques Vaughn recognizes this, why doesn't Darvin Ham? Or maybe he does and he just doesn't care. But I don't think that's the case because Philadelphia has a really good offense and Nick Nurse is also a very championship medal head coach. So
Mhm.
I, 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 I just, there's nothing watching that makes me think Darvin Ham would underestimate Nurse and or the Sixers. So what's going on? What else could it be? Well, if that's a smaller issue, then the bigger issues are everything else. And as you've talked about, Gerald, Ham being able to compartmentalize everything, the structure of the offense, who's in foul trouble, what kind of sets do I want to run in the next 2 minutes? Well, how do I stagger LeBron and AD in this game? And who's going to get the majority of the touches in the mid? Like, it just seems that he can maybe only focus on a couple of things at the same time, Gerald. It's frustrating. It's
Yeah.
frustrating.
It is frustrating indeed, but I'm hopeful that the Lakers will find a way to go ahead and get through this rough patch. But it's not going to get much better because after the Knicks are on the horizon, there's Chicago. But then again, there's to go on the road trip again. Chicago, you've got Minnesota, you got OKC, you've got Boston on Christmas, then you've got to go back and play Minnesota in Minnesota. There's some tough games ahead, and we need a coach that's making better decisions about this roster going forward. Again, these are situations where last night's game is totally an embarrassment. Absolutely and fundamentally, no way, shape, or form an embarrassment. These are games you need to win each and every time out, especially when you're competing for a playoff spot. The Lakers don't have the opportunity or advantage to be at the top of right now the food chain where Minnesota is, where you could just punt a game and be okay. The Lakers are right now knee deep in the Western Conference, and every single loss matters, and every win matters as well.
Absolutely, Gerald. And quite frankly, uh, other than last night, the conference record was actually looking fairly decent, especially if it gets a level of competition. Um, but can't drop these anymore. That's potentially one with the Rockets now, one with the Spurs. It can't happen again. Um, these games are too valuable. And again, going from fourth to eighth in the span of less than a week, Gerald. Because on Saturday we were in fourth, and today we're in eighth. So that's less than a week. This is how quick it can happen. And jostling in the Western Conference, that's going to be par for the course. I think we're going to be packed like a can of sardines with everybody else. And as Gerald said, dropping this is it makes it harder because if you're at the end, if you're tied with somebody and everything else is even, but they have a better conference record because you lost to the Spurs and they didn't, those are the kind of things that can happen. It's
Well,
rare. It's rare, but they happen.
oh, and Rodell's in the comments, and we appreciate you watching and appreciate your commenting on our show. He says, "Well, get used to it because they are going to punt games." Well, the Lakers are at eighth place in the Western Conference as we speak right now.
Mhm.
I don't know how smart it is to punt games when you're in eighth place in the Western Conference, Magic Man. You've already punted one game too many, in my opinion.
If you're in eighth place, that means you're in the plan.
Hmm. Is that what we want to do? Is
That
that
would
where we
do
want to go? Is
that.
that
What?
what we want to be?
Yeah, no, I don't want to be a playing team. So
Okay.
that's kind of what happens when you do punt a couple of games more than you probably should.
Yeah.
You could end up instead of 43 wins and being a seventh seed, you might have 40 and being a 10th seed. No
Yeah.
thanks.
I mean, do we really want to go through the same painstaking issues that we went through last year, late in the season? LeBron and AD, they had to play every game in a win now mode. Every game was a must win for them. They had to go ahead. They could not get the rest. They could not take games off late in the season like other teams could. They were resting their superstars and all that late in the season because they had their playoff spots secured. The Lakers didn't, and it ended up costing them because while the run was great against Memphis and Golden State, ending the Golden State dynasty as we're seeing that dumpster fire play out before our very eyes, unfortunately, it caught up to him with a gassed out LeBron and AD against Denver as a major reason why they lost that series, Magic
But
Man.
Gerald, didn't everybody see the irony of what happened last night? I mean, I know Rodell's in the comments, so even Rodell must know the irony of what happened last night. Okay, so do you remember Game 1 against the Western against Denver in the Western Conference Finals, Gerald?
Unfortunately.
We got shredded in that first half.
Yeah. Mhm.
He decided he decided we were going to go back with the same starting five. What
Yep.
happened in that third quarter, Gerald? Do you remember?
I don't want to even talk about it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same thing happened yesterday in a regular season game. You're getting lit up. Your starting five just is a -20. They're getting lit up. And you decide at halftime that since we've pumped the brakes on what the Spurs were trying to blow us out for, and we're only down 7, we're in the game. Nope, we'll go back to my original plan. Same five, same bull. You know what, Gerald? It's the same thing. We're watching a nightmare over and over again. He didn't make adjustments at game 1, had starting 5 that got torched, didn't make an adjustment. He's playing a 3-win team. Not on a championship level, a 3-win team who gets torched by a 3-win team with his starting 5 goes right back to him. Didn't learn a damn thing from that series, Gerald.
It's a shame because the Lakers are now looking up at the Kings, looking up at the Clippers, looking up at the Rockets once again, looking up at the Mavs. These are teams that they should be beating. These are teams that they should be better against. Even the Oklahoma City Thunder, you can say to an extent. Minnesota, we don't know if that's real or not as far as their dominance in the Western Conference, but they're on a great streak now, so you got to give them credit for that. But yeah, it just seems like the Lakers have punted games as we're using this continuous theme. And while Rodell is accepting of it and saying, yeah, the Lakers are going to do more of it, I just don't think right now the Lakers have any opportunity to go ahead and punt games right now. That's why I was not in love with the NBA Cup. You saw the hangover. I knew told you guys out there, beware of the hangover. It was coming,
He
and
did.
it did. We
He
devoted
did.
a show to it, and you
He
guys said,
did.
"Oh, it's okay. They won 3 in a row regular season games, including then that won the NBA Cup. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay." No, they aren't okay. They came in gassed, and they came this week, and it proves that you got to go ahead and have all the planning, the coaching, be on the right frame in order to go ahead, even with tired teams, even with a tired team like the Lakers, in order to go ahead and get these wins over teams like Dallas, who is very shorthanded. No excuse there why you didn't get the job done. And then again in San Antonio with a not very great showing in both games where they just got outscored by the 45-point fourth quarter on Wednesday. They barely won that, and then of course the embarrassment on Friday. We have to go ahead. We've got games coming up against some elite teams here in the NBA coming up, and we have to hope that we can go ahead and have a coaching plan that's going to be in place that's going to be able to say what split 2 of those 4 games.
Yes, as minimum, Gerald. Yeah, please, two and two here, please. You have to. And again, he said those guys need to rest, and we've talked about the level of competition and the requisite intensity level that the teams the Lakers either meet and exceed or come in with a subpar attitude and demeanor. That's what makes me worried, Gerald. And that's why a lot of Laker fans are valid in their consternation about his coaching style because of exactly what you just got through saying. You'd like to see at least a 500 record over this gauntlet that you've got. But you're skeptical about that because not because of the talent and the requisite personnel that you have, it's the coaching.
Yeah. I think again the coaching I think has not been up to par so far this season. Not saying it can't be fixed. Again, we saw Darvin Ham closing out the season a lot better than the way he started and went halfway through the season. So he found a better niche once the Lakers made some changes. And I know that Joshua Dietz was in earlier in the chat saying, "Do you think a trade will get done by February?" Although I really don't want to touch on the trades too much because we're going to save that for Laker Tom tomorrow. I do want to respect his question. I mentioned that I think that the Lakers will stave off against a trade until February, until or at least until after everybody becomes available that can become available. The only one who couldn't become available is Jared Vanderbilt. AD does become available February 8th. I'm not saying that they're going to trade AD, but you get my idea.
Mhm.
I mean, I will go ahead and answer his question on that. Your thoughts, my friend, on whether or not the Lakers will make a trade before February in order to answer Joshua's question.
Yeah, good question, Joshua. I would say that I think I, I think a small trade might be made considering the issues in the front court with Christian Wood and given the fact that, as Gerald mentioned, Max Christie struggles combined with trying to reinsert Gabe Vincent into the rotation. I think a small trade could be made. Don't see it. That being said, I agree with Gerald. I'm not hedging. I'm just saying I think it. The Lakers made any significant move, it would be after February. I agree.
Rodell says, in my opinion, they didn't seem that upset about losing the game last night. And you're right. I did see the end of the game. The coach Ham seemed to be enjoying Pop's company. LeBron hugging Pop. The Spurs and Lakers players all enjoying, embracing each other. That's always, as Joe says, so wonderful to see. He said that I guess he's saying we all should relax as far as LeBron chalking up to missing three starters. Again, I will relax when the Lakers are in first place in the Western Conference. I will relax when the Lakers are dominating the Western Conference and the NBA competition. I will relax when the Lakers win a world championship. And then, Magic Man, I will relax. I don't know how you are as a fan, but since this is a team that, again, 17 world championships tied with Boston, and Boston is looking over on the Eastern Conference saying, we're dominating our competition.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, you'll forgive me if I don't relax like LeBron is right now.
Yeah, no, me neither, Gerald. And the, so it's interesting. This has kind of all been brought up. That they didn't care that we had three starters missing. They didn't care. They
We're
would have.
supposed to be so deep because that was the first thing that 805 Hiking mentioned 2 hours ago when I posted this video, as far as the description on it. He mentioned that he wasn't blaming on a Ham because of the depth, quote unquote, that we have on this team. And that's something that we were hearkening on. Oh, so depth. And then remember Joe saying, oh, I've never seen a team so loaded with depth, blah, 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 coming in the
Yeah.
season. Well, this depth, as is always the case with the NBA, this depth doesn't always work out. It's usually that teams that we don't think have very much depth somehow find a little bit more depth or find depth in places that they didn't know they would have going into the season, and vice versa. It always seems to work out like that. This always seems to be is where it's just as far as not all the players find the same fit that they did in previous stops. So it's not as always as deep as you thought it was. But the Lakers have had okay depth, but again, it's not to the extent I think that we've all had it on, as far as that we believed it would be, because we thought the Lakers, in fact, prognosticators, reporters, media, they were all saying, "My God, the Lakers have so much depth going in." Well, the Lakers have had some depth and they've had some issues, but they've also had some glaring weaknesses that we've seen also as well going forward, Magic Man.
Yes, absolutely, Gerald. And obviously, the big one is, given time and space, depending on the matchup. I mean, he's just as stubborn as a mule. He'll let Dante Exum, Matisse Thybulle, Malachi Flynn, Trey Young. Hell, Gerald, let's bring a Donald Foyle back and see if he can make wide open threes. I'm sure he still could, if Darvin Ham left him open. It's just, it's a comedy of errors at times with him. Um, and he hasn't been able to utilize this depth that we have. I mean, you had two of your four best players available last night. You had two of your best perimeter defenders available, and you still can beat a team that's probably not going to win more than 12 games this year.
Little Chris Johnson, Act 18. I only saw your message real briefly. I sensed your frustration in the statement. I know it was got retracted, but actually, I thought it was actually a pretty good statement. So it's something I did was not offensive in any way. It's just your thoughts and feelings and passion as a fan. So, Little Chris, if you're frustrated by the way Coach Ham is utilizing the offense or utilizing players, feel free to express it. So again, I what I saw of it real quickly, I just want to let you know, little Chris, that it was something that I can't necessarily disagree with you on. So there you go. I mean, when it comes to Darvin Ham, it's just again, I think he has cost us games, some decisions, whether or not how many. I don't know. If you want to go ahead and go back, look at the tape, look at the video, you know, you decide for yourself. It's a question that only you can decide whether or not he has cost us games or not. But again, don't see a time where this team, has really flourished outside of these in-season tournament games where we've really been able to, for those brief moments of time to actually utilize the roster in the way it was meant to be used, Magic Man.
Yeah, it not at all, Gerald. Not at all. This is almost akin to that movie Moneyball, where Brad Pitt's walking down talking to Art Howe, played by the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, about um, y- Art, uh, you're not playing this team the way it was supposed to be assembled. Well, this team wasn't assembled for me.
Mm-hmm.
Almost think that's kind of what Darvin Ham's conversations are like with Rob Pelinka, Gerald. That he's just so damn stubborn and so damn set in his ways that he's not willing to even consult with the front office and how to manage the rotation the best way possible in order for us to get the best performance out of each guy. I mean, that's the whole point of them putting them together. You would have thought that Rob and Darvin would have been on the same page there, but doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it right now. Again, I know we're being pretty hard on Darvin Ham. I'm hoping it'll turn around. I'm hoping that Darvin Ham will find better ways to go ahead and utilize the roster going forward, despite the injuries, that happened for the Lakers. Every NBA team is utilized and had injuries. We cannot use that as an excuse because every team, to an extent, has that excuse right now. You could say that with Phoenix going on. Bradley Beal can't stay on the court for more than what 10 minutes seemingly. He's hurt again for several weeks. So look at him. Yeah, Phoenix is, I think your friends for the Phoenix podcast, they're probably bemoaning and bemoaning and bemoaning the fact that they can't keep the three-star players healthy on the floor at the same time. Same thing with other teams. Oh, Cleveland. If you're in Cleveland, you've got some real issues. You just got Spider back, and now you've lost Mobley and your point guard, two major injuries that are out. They're out for weeks. So that, again, all these teams have issues with injuries. It's just how you utilize the roster going forward. I know that we've all talked about exactly how we would better utilize the roster than Ham. And if I see that that's the case and everybody seemingly has an opinion, Magic Man, how they would utilize the roster differently than Darvin Ham, I think in and of itself tells you that most fans feel Darvin Ham is not getting it fully done this season.
No, he's not. He's not, Gerald. He's not. And
And
like
little Chris Johnson put his comment back up there again. Yeah, that's your thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid. That's absolutely something you should be. If that's the way you feel like that, that's nothing offensive. That's your thoughts, and you're more power to you for that, little
yeah,
Chris.
and you know something, Gerald. They they got Ham off of a heater that the Bucks were on for about 5 years. The difference is, Gerald. The difference is the Bucks got fed up with Bud and they fired him. They fired him, Gerald. They had enough of it. It was enough seeing him not adjust to doubles against the Heat. It was enough seeing him still sticking Drew Holiday on Jimmy Butler, even though you knew that they should have put Giannis on Jimmy Butler. But Bud was stubborn as hell. And this is who Darvin Ham's mentor was. That's his mentor. He was his apprentice. And he's going to go down his way. And it's the same way as Bud's. I'm not gonna adjust to drop coverage, even though I know I should. I'm not gonna double Embiid along the baseline, even though I know I should. I'm not going to play Rui 25 to 28 minutes a game because he's playing very well, but he's not my cup of tea and he doesn't play within the flow of the structure of the offense that I want. So I'm just gonna sit his ass down. I mean, kind of getting tired of seeing the same old patterns.
Well, we probably will see more of the same old patterns indeed. Magic Man, before you go, I think TOJ has a question for you. I don't know if that's up to you to answer it, but I will say it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Such a great part of what we're doing here at the Lakers Fast Break. The man behind much of our coverage here on our pre-games. Of course, everything that we do at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And then, of course, our post games as well. Outstanding job he and Joe did last night covering the post game debacle as far as this San Antonio loss that we incurred last night. But tune in to us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to be going ahead and talking to Laker Tom. Trader Tom will be in the house. We talk about a Lakerholic spotlight, Magic Man. Tomorrow's show we're letting Laker Tom or AK Trader Tom run wild with the trade talk tomorrow because the Lakerholic spotlight will be on him. No Jamie, because Jamie is out in I guess out in the road or somewhere. I know he said then he's going to New York, I think, or something like that. So Magic Man, what are your thoughts on Laker Tom running the show as Trader Tom tomorrow for the Lakerholic spotlight? God help us all.
Yes, yes, Gerald. Put your seatbelts on, everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, everybody, tomorrow have a sense of
This is
humor.
like the Millennium Falcon, only with Laker Tom. The Millennium Falcon doesn't it's a little jittery. Like
It's a,
we'll get it up in the air, but me and Gerald aren't quite sure if we're gonna make it.
Absolutely. I know he's going to ask or propose or talk some crazy trades like he does on Lakerholics.com and at Laker Tom on Twitter. Please be patient. If you think he's crazy, if you think he's outrageous, you're more than likely to go ahead and say so. But please, it's Laker Tom. He's 79.
He is.
70,
He's 79.
79. So be gentle with him. I'm not going to call him stupid this time around. Hopefully he won't call me stupid this time around and we'll go from there. I don't want to try and argue with him. I'll be a little bit more awake next time. Although it's funny, Magic Man, I said before we went on the show, I said, all right, let's get this over with. I'm tired because he wanted a morning show and all that. And then we ended up doing almost 2 hours. So, so it
It's
is
not
what it is.
fair. It's not fair. Gerald has a right to sleep in. Damn it.
That's okay. I try to do today, so we'll hopefully we'll be able to go ahead and provide everyone a good show tomorrow, indeed. But it is Laker Tom. The spotlight will be on him tomorrow. Lakerholic spotlight, and then of course Monday night pregame. Of course, during the game at playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break and post game right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. If you enjoyed what you saw and you have not yet liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. If you need the link to our fabulous merchandise store, if you want to go ahead and check it out, I'm going to post it here in the chat here in just a couple seconds. If you're looking for a great holiday gift to give someone, or if you want to go ahead and, there's a loved one out there that hasn't figured out what to get you, a last minute Christmas gift could be right there. Right there. I put it in the chat right there for you, and I'm going to put it in the description so you don't forget. It is the Lakers Fast Break merchandise store. Don't forget, there is a lot of great designs. Joe is working with a great team over there. I think it's OBS printing or something like that. I'll get the right name hopefully for the next tomorrow's show. But yeah, they've been doing a great job supporting Joe and Joe vice versa. I just want to go ahead and thank everyone again for their support in this holiday season. I know we don't do it enough. We need to do it more as far as appreciate you as a fan base for supporting us this holiday season. I cannot thank you enough. But Magic
Oh,
Man, go ahead, my friend. I was going to say any last thoughts, but I'm sorry.
yes,
I got
yes,
criticized for
yes.
saying my friend. I got criticized for saying my friend too much from somebody when I was on the Cosmos on the other day. So you say my friend too much. You say my friend. I'm
Well,
sorry, I have friends.
yeah,
But go
yeah.
ahead, my
Well,
friend. Go ahead, my friend.
I would have said the same
Yes.
thing, Gerald. Yes, when you say "my friend," that's a phraseology meant as a welcoming to a friend,
Endearment.
endearment.
My God, I got criticized for saying my friend because I have friends.
Some people
Sorry.
say "hey, stranger" because
Yes.
they meaning a stranger. When you say "my friend," like Gerald said, that's a term of endearment. Now, if you don't have any, you wouldn't know that, sir. Whoever
Uh,
you are,
yeah, I was on the Cosmos. But my
yeah, whoever
friend,
you are.
any last thoughts on Darvin Ham before we head on? Do you think it'll right the ship and Darvin Ham will provide a good enough coaching job going forward?
I am very skeptical, but I'm holding out a small sliver, Gerald. There's always a
Emma, as
silver
am I.
line. There's always a silver lining. So there's a small sliver that of
We are.
light that could shine on through.
But I'm going
Uh
to do an impression of Joe with his answer. No,
yeah.
no, no.
And
But
by
I
the
I think there is I think there's a chance. He did it last year. I think he can do it again this year. But go ahead, Magic Man.
yeah, Gerald, I'm seeing pockets now everywhere in reference
You've
to
got it
Darvin Ham.
trending, my friend.
And yeah, so that was an LFB thing, ladies and
That's a
gentlemen.
you
We
thing, I
we
think.
started we started that. Well, I'm not gonna take credit for it. It's us, but
Why?
yeah,
Why not?
because we're a team. So it's just one person doing this.
Okay. All right. Well, if everybody talks to me about okay, you come with us, you want the origination of pockets, you need to do a story. I'm still going to give him credit for it. But
Oh,
go ahead.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So, but make sure you reference Lakers fast break now
Yes.
when you refer to Darvin Ham as pockets.
Yes. We
Uh,
could use all the help we can get.
That, but I'm with you. A silver lining that hold out a sliver of hope that the sun comes out tomorrow with him. But we're skeptical, Gerald, and for good reason.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens, but the Lakers don't play until Monday night. Please join us then, of course, for the pregame, during the game, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break, and postgame. Darwin Scam or Darwin Scam, as Marvin Jenkins said. I've seen that regularly as well. I like pockets better, personally. I think that's probably a better Darwin Scam or Darwin Scam. I think that's a little too mean. Is that
Mhm. I get it. It kind of rolls off the
I know
tongue
it
with that
rolls.
yeah, the whole scam thing. That's kind of it alludes to something nefarious and untoward, and that's not the way he comes across. But I understand it rolls off the tongue, like kind of like a fraud, like scam ham.
Yes. Yes. Etc. It says, like, look what the 76ers did to the Hornets. That's how you play against bad teams. Absolutely. You beat them down. Doesn't matter. You have LeBron, one of the greatest players in the game, Absolutely, one of the greatest players ever to play the basketball. Again, I don't know who, whatever he's on your list. Okay, it is whatever. One, two, three, 5, 15, whatever. Okay, and maybe in Dr. J's case, like 30 or something. But still, one of the greatest players ever to play the game of basketball. You should be able to coach a scheme that gets it done against a 3-win team in the NBA, a team that's lost 17, 18 times, 18 times in a row. Absolutely zero excuse. Don't tell me how many players out of lineup. I don't want to hear that excuse. Okay. This is a team that's lost 18 times in a row. So should we make that excuse that they had lost to Detroit and they had lost 18 or 19 at the time themselves? Do we need to make that excuse every time we lose to a bad team? No. Uh, eccentricus case, blah, blah, blah. What a great name, hard to say, but he said
Here,
76ers
Gerald,
player,
it's eccentric,
eccentricus.
it, eccentric case.
Eccentric
Yeah,
case. Okay, there you go. 76ers play their star players because they care about winning. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Darren Oxload, man, he was in the chat earlier, but yeah, he obviously didn't want to. I sent him the link. He didn't want to participate. He's being a Grinch somewhere, so I'm sure we'll see him and hear him on Monday. Indeed. Gerald, is the Cosmos on tonight? No, I plan to record sometime tomorrow with Josh. We're not doing our year end of year best of yet, but it's coming around the corner. A best and worst of the year in pop culture coming up right around the corner. Pop culture cosmos. We're still going to report on some things, the latest news and trends coming up here on tomorrow's show. Rodell says the Spurs beat Phoenix twice this year in back-to-back games. That was when they were motivated and they were ready to play and win. Rodell, what happened after that, Magic Man? What happened after they beat the Phoenix team twice? What happened there, Magic?
they won their third game on November 2nd, Gerald, and didn't win
Mm-hmm.
their fourth game until Friday, December 15th.
Yes. So Rodell, don't give me that because that was a different team 18 losses ago. When a team loses 18 times in a row, they are a bad team. When they're 3-2, they're playing with a team that's confidence, and whatnot at that point in time of the season. So it's not a comparison. It's
Gerald,
weak.
you're talking about a team that the Lakers lost to that had one of the 10 worst losing streaks in NBA history.
Yeah. Condor asks, will Reeves be a starter again by the end of the season? I'm going to say, like Joe. Joe thinks he should be a starter already. I like where he's at coming off the bench. I say yes. If they trade D'Lo, I think he moves back into the starting lineup. If you start him again, the same problems will recycle itself if you start him alongside D'Lo again, Magic Man. The same problems of him being hunted out and being schemed upon primarily will be a problem for everyone to see once again, Magic Man, if you start those two together. But do I think he'll start again this season? I think D'Lo is going to be, or most likely is a high upon the list of the Lakers to try and move because they don't, he's most likely going to opt out of his contract next season. So if that's the case, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. So it is probably a decent bet for him to be traded. So I would say Austin Reeves probably will move into the starting lineup at some point in time this season.
Yes, I agree, Gerald. I think almost a fait accompli
Yeah.
that if the Lakers make a transactional move, D'Lo's involved.
I'm not saying
Net,
it's a great decision because Sangerstein, Condor, they're saying in the chat that exactly it's not the greatest move in the world. I like him better off the bench
no,
myself.
it's not. It's not
Yeah.
the greatest move in the world. I agree.
But again, I just have a feeling that because he plays so well that there's the itch to go ahead and put him in. Just the way Darvin Ham has coached over the past season and 20 some odd games, I just think that he'll just get that itch to put him back in the
Yes.
starting lineup once again. Like he last night was by necessity. I'm not going to put that. That's beside altogether. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Gerald. No question about it. If as soon as or when if D'Lo is traded, I agree. He's going to find some chance to put Austin back in the starting lineup.
I've My friend, it's been great having you on the show. Truly appreciate you joining us. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Great to have you here. Lifted says the Caruso rumors have died down. They'll pick up back up again, whether or not it's to the Lakers or somewhere else. I think they'll back, as long as he continues to play well in Chicago, I think that's going to be something where you will see a lot of rumors heating up. Remember, the Lakers are going to go there this week or this next week to Chicago. So we'll be seeing a lot of those rumors heat up once again. Zach Levine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. You'll hear up. Of course, Aya Dusumo. Oh yeah, all that. You're going to hear all that come up again as far as that's concerned by all the media writing that up around the time that the Lakers play in Chicago. So, yeah, can't wait for that. But speaking of trade talk, trade rumors, trade proposals, we're going to have Trader Tom back in the house tomorrow. Lakerholic Spotlight will be on Laker Tom. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Magic Man, I'm going to close it out with you, my friend. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
I'm going to take a lot of BC headache powder in the morning, Gerald.
Oh, you are D'Angelo. Okay, good, man.
just to prepare for what we're about to embark on with Trader Tom. This is like the Douglas Adams of NBA fake trades where you're going out with Tom. It's uh God, what's that book that he wrote, Gerald? Um Sp- S- Time Traveler's Guide Through the Galaxy. That's
Okay.
okay, that's Tom, but the trade machine.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the
That's
Galaxy.
it. The Hitchhiker's
Yes.
Guide to the Galaxy. This is the
Yes.
Hitchhiker's Guide to Trader Tom tomorrow.
Blue Magic says Magic Man's going to take a few doses of Magic Mind. He finished off his case of Magic Mind. So, yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know. You could try it. If you're interested in Magic Mind, magicmind.com, Lakers 20. Go ahead and see if the code still works. So, it was great working with them, and hopefully we'll get the chance to do so again. But I will say, though, before we head on out, people are already divisive on Levine. You know what? Zach Levine, I was arguing with people on the comments after one of our shows, back and forth. He just loves Levine. So it's just like, okay, we'll go over all that tomorrow. We'll talk about that, whether or not you like the Zach Levine, whether you not like Zach Levine. Life collection, no matter who we get, the main problem will remain, which is Mr. Pockets. He will find ways to lose the game. His record with the Lakers is awful. Again, there's a lot of animosity towards the coach, and there always is to some extent. I mean, look at Joe with Dave Roberts, a guy who's taken the team to 100 season victories, right? Left and right, and actually won a world championship. He is still just at the end of a lot of vitriol with
Yeah, he's
yeah,
completely reviled by
yes,
Joe and a lot of
yes.
other Dodger fans, even though he constantly wins over 100 games.
Omaris, I want to let you know, Gabe Vincent, according to Sham Sharania, is the latest. Believe me, I've had to look time and time again. Darvin Ham left no timeline, but there's been constant reports. One report said 10 to 14 days, which would have put it just before Christmas. Actually, Sham Sharania in his latest, actually it wasn't the latest, but it was actually last week, was said that they were circling the New York game as a return for Gabe Vincent. I've not heard or seen any thing yet. If anything is tweeted out there by Mike Trudell or Dave McMenamin, because they tweet the injury reports out there, I will retweet it. So go ahead and follow me at Lakers Fast Break. I will go ahead, and if it's also put out there, I will also mention it, or Sean will also mention it on the pregame coming up on Monday as well. So yeah.
Oh, and Gerald, before we head on out,
Mhm.
everybody should get used to hearing one name specifically in Lakers rumors coming up.
Well, let me just say this, Omaris. Yeah, it'd be great to have him back. They're going to ease him back in. You're seeing it. You'll probably see something similar to what we've seen with Vando. Easing him back into the lineup, especially with a knee injury like that. Go ahead, Matchman. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Gerald, I was just going to say there's a clutch client by the name of Gary Trent Jr., whose name will be very much linked to the Lakers
There's
in the
also a
next
clutch
few
client named
weeks.
Zach Levine, also linked to the Lakers as
I
well.
actually think Gary Trent Jr. is a better fit for the Lakers, Gerald. Can hold his own defensively, other than his peer that you just mentioned, Zach Levine. just benched recently. Looks like he will not sign an extension with the Raptors, Gerald. So it looks as though that the Coyotes are circling the hen house of the Toronto Raptors, Gerald.
Well, there's a list that Tom sent over to me via, or actually sent it to email.
I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. There's one name that's particularly curious that was left off the list that the Lakers could still make a package for. And I'll have to mention that tomorrow that Tom may not be thinking about. So we'll go ahead and mention it. I know it would be a long shot, but or something not even maybe desired by you out there. But I'll just throw the name out there and see what goes on. Well, we'll see if we can bring out the ire of Laker Tom, but in a good way. In a good way with Trader Tom, indeed. But
They
once
call
the
that in the business a tease, ladies and
yes,
gentlemen.
a tease indeed. Yeah, he'll bring his Coke with him and all that. It is Laker Tom tomorrow of Lakerholics.com. Go ahead and join him and me and Magic Man tomorrow. Magic Man Sean Grice. Appreciate him stopping by. It's me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. It is truly appreciated. If you have not yet liked and subscribed, please do so to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air. We're trying hard to commit to an everyday format as best we can. We've been on a few days in a row now, like a few months in a row now. So doing this every day. So we're going to try and keep it on rolling as best we can. And we're going to keep on doing it because for you out there, you're giving us a great response and we're so appreciative of it. And we want to thank you so much and wishing you continued happy holidays. And we'll see you tomorrow for Lakerholic Spotlight on Laker Tom right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Have a good evening, everyone, and happy Lakers weekend. Go Lakers.